2025 draft class is probably one of the deepest we have seen in the past few years, with guys like Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, Nolan Traylor, VJ Edgecomb, Dylan Harper. There are so many very good players in this draft class, and we're going to see a lot of teams tank a lot more this season because there are a lot of top-end talent in this draft class. And with the NBA season starting today at the time of this recording and college basketball being right around the corner, it's only right for us to start doing mock drafts once again. For those people who have been locked in to my YouTube channel the past few months, or basically since I've started, I've been doing mock drafts since maybe mid-season last season, and I've been doing them pretty consistently, and now we're back. And just a quick disclaimer, I have a really good idea on all of these players, but I just want to let people know that it is preseason in college basketball. We haven't got a lot of college minutes out of a lot of these guys. So as the season goes along, I'm going to have more of an analysis on these players. So there are going to be players that I have more of an analysis on than others. And there's going to be some players that I have a good idea of what their game is and what they can improve off of, but I won't spend as much time on. So without further ado, let's get into the mock draft. Let's go. At the number 1 pick, which is kind of obvious, I'm going Cooper Flagg. The Washington Wizards will be making this selection. And Cooper Flagg is a guy who is 6'9", about 7-foot wingspan, 205 pounds, and he averaged about 16 points per game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks on about 56, 39, 79 splits at Montverde Academy. And this is a guy who I believe is a better defensive prospect than offensive prospect as of right now. This is a guy that is a very good help side defender, very good shot blocker. He shows signs on the perimeter. I don't know how agile or quick or athletic he'll be able to be on the perimeter to be able to guard some of the quicker guards in the league, but he does show promise on that side. And offensively, I think he has a very high arcing jump shot. I think it's going to be very hard to block. I think he can get downhill very well. I think he can create in the in-between game pretty well, and I think he's a very good tough shot maker. But something that really is propelling me from just giving him this LeBron and Wemby type of hype that a lot of people are giving him is how good will he be able to create for himself at the next level? Because there are going to be a lot more athletic defenders. There are going to be a lot more defenders that are just as lengthy as him and maybe even more athletic that are going to be in front of him every single night, especially on a Washington Wizards team who is not going to have much offense outside of him. And right now, I don't know how Bub Carrington or Alex Sarr is going to look, but your defense is going to key in on him night in and night out, and some of the more athletic wings are going to be able to stay in front of him, and his dribble, the handle, it just concerns me just a little bit. I still think he's a phenomenal prospect, and I have him going at number 1. With the second pick, I have the San Antonio Spurs selecting Ace Bailey, and this is a guy who can make NBA level shots. This guy is a tough shot taker, and he's a tough shot maker, standing at 6'10", about 200 pounds with a 7-foot wingspan. Ace Bailey gave you about 33 points per game, 16 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks. He does have very good defensive upside. He can move in transition. He can get up and down the floor pretty fast. As a 6'10" player, he's going to be very athletic coming out of the gate, but one thing that does concern me with Ace Bailey is he doesn't put enough rim pressure on the rim in the half court as much as I would like, especially given the athleticism and the height and length that he possesses. I would just love to see him try and get downhill a lot more. He does struggle creating for himself at times, but I think the off-ball upside is going to be phenomenal. I think his spot-up shooting is going to be phenomenal. I think the way he can move in motion and just catch motion threes and shoot them instantly, and his shot confidence is going to be phenomenal and is going to translate to the next level. At number 3, I have the Brooklyn Nets taking Dylan Harper, and this is a guy who is 6'6". He can create in the half court. He likes to get downhill. He likes to create mid-range looks for himself. Solid playmaker. This is the son of Ron Harper and the younger brother of Ron Harper Jr., who also went to Rutgers. And as of right now, I think Nolan Traylor is the better player than Ron Harper or Dylan Harper, but I think Dylan Harper has the higher upside to be a superstar, and I think that's what Brooklyn is going to count on, because in my lottery, I did a simulated lottery on, I think, tankathon.com, and Dylan Harper for the Nets kind of makes more sense because he has that superstar upside that I think Nolan Traylor does not have much of. You would like to see him be a better defender. You would like to see him finish around the rim a lot better. And you would like to see his jump shot be a little bit more consistent. But with the way he can create and the way he can get downhill and the upside he has as a finisher, playmaker, shot creator, tough shot maker, and tough shot taker, you would want to see him become a superstar, and you think the tools are there to become an offensive superstar and be an offensive engine for an offense. And I think Brooklyn needs that guy they can really build their crew around, and I think Dylan Harper at number 3 is that. At number 4, I have the Utah Jazz taking Nolan Traylor, and this is because I think Keontae George is not the best lead guard. He might be a combo guard, and Isaiah Collier is a question mark, although I like his game. I think Nolan Traylor is the perfect point guard to pair next to a guy like Lauri Markkanen or Cody Williams with his elite pick and roll game, with his spot-up three-point shooting, and how much pressure he puts on the rim. I would love to see him have a little bit more of an in-between game, but in the playoffs, in his respected overseas league, he put up about 19 points per game on 50% from the field and 40% from three. The three-point upside is there. I would like to see his shot selection just get a little bit better and, like I said, work on the mid-range game. But as a downhill player, he loves to get downhill. He loves to create advantages for his offensive team, and he likes to get to the free throw line. He eats up fouls a lot, and he basically lives there. So that's something that I love to see from Nolan Traylor, and I think he can make this Jazz offense really potent with Will Hardy, and Lauri Markkanen. So this is going to be very exciting for the Jazz. At number 5, I have the Portland Trail Blazers taking VJ Edgecomb. And with the struggles of the backcourt defense that we have seen as of recently with Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe and Anthony Simons, you would love to have an athletic defender in VJ Edgecomb. And a thing that sticks out with him is just the motor. You know, the way he's able to dive on the floor for loose balls, the way he's able to get back in transition, the way he's able to block shots and how high he gets up. He's a very athletic player who can run in the transition right next to Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe and Anthony Simons. He is a solid spot-up shooter. I don't really trust him to create much in the half-court setting with the ball in his hand, but once the ball is taken off the glass for his defense and he's in offense and he's in transition, he can go up and down the field with the best of them. And I think that is so complimentary to a Blazers team who is lacking perimeter defense at the moment, and he could pair well with a Shaedon Sharpe, Anthony Simons, or Scoot Henderson, whichever one they choose to build around in the future. At number 6, I have the Pistons taking Liam McNeely. And Liam McNeely is a guy who I think his game is going to stand out a lot at UConn, to where he could be a lock to be a top 6 pick. And this is a Detroit Pistons team who needs floor spacing. They need floor spacing aside of Cade Cunningham. And what better player to have than Liam McNeely, who's a guy who has an excellent form. I think his release point is very good. You don't see his shot change as much, whether he's in motion, he's catch and shoot, he's shooting off the dribble. This is a guy who is a perfect complementary player who definitely puts the effort in on defense, can make shots at an elite level, and could be a very consistent shooter. And I think all of that is going to stand out at UConn, and he's going to be a great prospect, and Detroit is going to be lucky to draft him. This is one of my guys in this entire draft period. I'm going to be making a video of the top 10 favorite players for me in this draft process, and that's Kanan Malak. I have him going number 7 to the Chicago Bulls, and we look at Kanan Malak's game and we just look at a guy who's a really advanced defensive big. He's a guy that I think has a lot of potential to guard in space. I think he's a great shot blocker. I think he's heavy enough to guard in the post, and we see him have some tendencies to kind of put the ball on the floor and try and create with the ball on the floor. I don't think that's his game. I think that's something that maybe can come in future years, but as of right now, I think he's an amazing screener. I think he's an amazing lob catcher. I think he's a great play finisher. This is a guy who I think is going to be one of the better defenders in the league in the upcoming years, and the way he can complement Kobe White and Josh Giddey just to be able to work through the pick and roll and set great screens and end up rolling to the basket. I think that's going to set up a lot of opportunities for those guys, and I think Kanan Malak is a great pick at number 7 to the Chicago Bulls. I think what we're seeing overseas right now, we're seeing a lot of creators and a lot of scorers with Kasparas Giacochonis, who I have going at number 8 to the Toronto Raptors. This is a guy who is extremely athletic. He's a willing pull-up shooter. He's a willing passer. He's willing to get to the free throw line. He can just go up and down the floor with some of the best of them, especially overseas. He has a polish to his game as an offensive player that we just don't see as often in the American basketball, in a college basketball. And I think his game is very mature to be a complimentary off-ball player, to be a complimentary secondary ball handler for this Raptors team. And I think he could play next to Scotty Barnes very well. This could be a very athletic team. You can have a starting lineup of Emmanuel Quickly, Kasparas Giacochonis, RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, and maybe Jakob Poeltl. And I think you can be really building something in Toronto. And I think Kasparas Giacochonis is one of the best players to fit next to Scotty Barnes in this draft. The Charlotte Hornets are building something very, very, very good, in my opinion, with the athleticism that they have on this team already, with LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, Tijon Saloon. I think Nick Richards off the bench is very athletic. I also think Mark Williams is a very athletic rebounder, glass cleaner for this Charlotte Hornets team. And a player that I think is a perfect bridge player between LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller is Drake Powell. This is a guy who's an amazing perimeter defender, a great help side defender. He can run up and down the court in transition. And this is the type of guy that you're going to need on this Hornets team. You have LaMelo Ball, you have Brandon Miller, who are your franchise cornerstones. And now it's time to build the best opportunities around them. And bringing in a guy like Drake Powell is going to be such a big move, a guy that can play defense and complement LaMelo Ball extremely well in transition, can cut to the basket, can finish around the rim extremely well, and I think this is a very good pickup. Another one of my more liked prospects coming into this draft is Kanan Malak. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but at number 10, I have him going to the San Antonio Spurs. And this is a guy who is very crafty on the offensive end. He can get downhill. He can pass and score out of the post, which is something I'm very excited to see. And he has upside rebounding, and he has a lot of strength to be able to finish through contact down low. But the concern I have with him, once again, is his own shot creation. This is a guy who is not as athletic as some of these guys at the higher point of this draft class, and he could be a little slow with the ball in his hand, so it's going to be very interesting to see how he's going to be able to create around the more athletic defenders in college and in the pros. But I think he's an amazing spot-up shooter. I think he could dribble. I think he can shoot off the dribble. I think he can get downhill, and I think he's very strong. But one of the things I am at most excited for to see from him is his scoring out of the post and his playmaking out of the post. At number 11, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder taking Collin Murray-Boyles, who is a guy who is 6'6" at the power forward position. He can put the ball on the floor. He's very physical, and he has a lot of glass cleaning upside. But once again, I would like to see him be a little bit more efficient at creating his own shot and creating his own look. I would like to see him get better as a playmaker, and I would love to see him get better as an outside shooter, because if you're an undersized big at the power forward or center position that can't really rebound, can't really put the ball on the floor, can't really shoot, you're not going to build a lot of minutes. And the reason I picked the Oklahoma City Thunder to take him at 11 is because he can be very physical, and that is something that I would like to see the Oklahoma City Thunder get better at. And they definitely have made the strides of going in that direction with signing Isaiah Hartenstein, but grabbing a guy like Collin Murray-Boyles, who has the upside to be a great rebounder and just a great finisher through contact, I think that's going to complement this team very well. At number 12, I have the Atlanta Hawks taking Will Riley, who's a lengthy shot creator, great spot-up shooter, great shooter off the dribble, and I think he could pair well next to Trae Young, just being a lengthy two who has some defensive upside. I don't know if he's going to be an immediate defensive impact, because we see with a lot of these younger players that defense may be their biggest weakness, but the tough shot making, the tough shot creating, the tough shot taking, that's something I'm very intrigued by. He's going to be a 3-level scorer almost day one, especially at Illinois, and I'm going to be watching because I'm in the Chicago area. And I'm definitely going to check out some games because they do have a lot of talent this season. And I think he could pair next to Trae Young, and I think he could be a great off-ball player for them as well. And you could see a starting lineup in the future being Trae Young, Will Riley, Zachary Risache, Jalen Johnson, and Onyeka Okongwu, and I'm very excited for that. At number 13, I have the Houston Rockets taking Jaeger Demon, and this is a lengthy, tall two guard, I believe. I think he's 6'8", 6'9". He has extreme off-ball potential, and I love this fit next to him and Alperen Sengun in the starting lineup to get a little bit more scoring in that small forward position, because as of right now, outside of Jalen Green, you don't have much scoring on the wing with guys like Cam Whitmore, Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks, and it's nice to have an offensive switchblade like Jaeger Demon. He has a lot of potential downhill. He has a lot of potential off-ball, spot-up shooting, off-the-dribble shooting, even an in-between game that I thought was really impressive from him. And just having him play next to Alperen Sengun, who they're probably going to be running the offense throughout the next few years, and the way he's able to find open guys, I think Jaeger Demon is going to flourish next to him. At number 14, I have the Golden State Warriors taking Hugo Gonzalez. This is a guy who shows a lot of upside as a ball handler, secondary ball handler next to Steph Curry. He can make the proper play out of the defense collapsing to him when he gets downhill. Shows some ability to make an outside shot, but the downhill ability and the playmaking is what intrigues me the most. And him playing next to Steph Curry is going to be very good for them. And I think they need to bring in as much young talent as possible, just seeing the fact that Steph Curry may be on his way out the door. Same with Draymond Green. At number 16, I have the New Orleans Pelicans taking Ben Seraph, who's one of the younger players in the draft. He's definitely a tall, lengthy player, and his change of direction is almost second to none, the way he's able to get to his spots in the mid-range and to be a willing passer and playmaker. And a guy like this could really help the New Orleans Pelicans out. And I know they should want to go center here, or they may go center here, but I just don't know about having two young centers that could really help out their center problems. But I really went with Roco Zakari at first, but I'm like, I don't know if they're going to draft two young big men back to back. I think the problem is they don't have a starting level center, and try and draft a center mid to late tier in the draft and expect him to be a starter on day one. I just don't know if that's going to lead to a lot of winning, especially a team that's looking to have a deep playoff run. So I ultimately end up with Ben Seraph, who can be a playmaking type of player. And that's just something that the Pelicans don't have much of outside of Zion Williamson and DeJounte Murray, who too aren't the greatest playmakers to have or not to be a lead initiator. I don't think they can be lead initiators. And I think just having him and growing him into that could be a lot better for this team, especially with the way he's able to stretch the floor and get to his spots. That's going to create a lot of offense for guys like CJ McCollum, Trey Murphy, Zion Williamson on the lobs. I just think it's going to be very good for them, and I think Ben Seraph is the pick. I think Roco Zakari is probably one of the most intriguing defensive prospects in this draft. He's very athletic, can grab rebounds, and is a very good shot blocker who can show potential to guard in space and to guard on the perimeter. This is a guy who is a lob finisher and a play finisher, somebody that would excel next to Trae Young. And I wouldn't have him starting just as yet. You have Onyeka Okongwu and Clint Capella, who I believe Clint Capella will be moved this season at the trade deadline. So you bring in a guy like Roco Zakari. He sits behind Onyeka Okongwu, who is probably going to be a better defender than Onyeka Okongwu, has better length than him, is probably going to be a better rebounder than him. And you pair him next to Trae Young with his amazing screen ability, his lob catching and play finishing ability, and his potential defensively, you might have a really solid big man rotation in later years in Atlanta. At number 18, I have the Memphis Grizzlies selecting Noah Essengate, an athletic, lengthy wing from overseas who is a solid shooter, solid playmaker, has a lot of defensive upside. And what really is going to intrigue me about him going to Memphis is the spot-up shooting. We know Memphis as a half-court offense could be very underwhelming at times, especially with their floor spacing. So to bring in a guy who has defensive upside, is very lengthy and athletic at the wing position, and can defend or has the upside to defend, and with the situation he's going to be brought in if he is drafted by the Memphis Grizzlies, I think he's going to buy in on the defensive side a lot more, especially with Taylor Jenkins as their head coach. And I think he can play off Ja Morant pretty well, that can run in transition, hit the open shot. And I think he's kind of the Tijon Saloon of this draft class, somebody who has a very high ceiling but could be very low or have a very low floor as of right now, but I think he definitely is a project pick, and I think the Memphis Grizzlies have the youth to really draft somebody like him. At number 19, I have the Orlando Magic taking Boogie Fland out of Arkansas, who decommitted from Kentucky to go follow their head coach. I'm forgetting his name. I'm a casual. And this is a guy who has the potential to be a scorer at the lead guard position or maybe the two guard position. And that's just something that Atlanta is lacking as of right now with their backcourt rotation with guys like Jalen Suggs, who's a limited offensive player, KCP, who's more of a spot-up shooter and an off-ball cutter, and Anthony Black being more of a defensive playmaking guard. You don't really have that point guard who can go out and really score. And he kind of gives me Terry Rozier, a guy that can average 20 points per game in the NBA, be that tough shot maker, somebody who's going to be confident taking those shots. And I just don't know if he's a solid playmaker. That's why I would call him a combo guard. But off the dribble, off the catch, spotting up, he's going to be a great shooter. He's going to be a great shot creator, and he's going to be a tough shot maker. And that's going to be very intriguing for an Orlando team that just needs a little bit more of that. At number 20, I have the Indiana Pacers taking Dink Pate, who is a very lengthy two guard, maybe even lead guard. He can shoot out of the pull-up. He can shoot off the dribble. He's not the best catch-and-shoot player, and his form is really ugly. His release point is not the best, but it's a lot more fluid off the dribble. It's a lot more fluid in the pick-and-roll and the pull-up game. He's a solid playmaker. He has some inconsistencies there with his decision-making and how fast he can react to defenses, but I think in the Indiana Pacers offense where they get up and down the floor so seamlessly, I think he can flourish in that position. I think he could be a very good secondary creator when Tyrese Halliburton is not on the floor, especially with the spacing that he is given. So the pick and roll game is going to be a lot easier. The decision making is going to be a lot easier. And I think he can flourish there. At number 21, I have the Brooklyn Nets taking Jalil Bethea. And this is a guy who, another one of my favorite players in this draft. And when we first looked at this 2025 draft class a little bit after the 2024 draft, I looked at Jalil Bethea as a lock to be a lottery pick. But as I dove deeper into his game, he's not the best playmaker. He is very small. He relies on these tough shots. And he doesn't play make enough for him to be in a lead guard, which when you look at his size, when you look at his strength, that's what he alludes to being. he's kind of an off-ball kind of guard. He's kind of like a Lou Williams kind of guy that is not going to play make at a very high level, has an insane shooting clip, can shoot off the dribble, can create for himself. He's very small. He's very slim. So I don't know if that's going to bring a lot for him defensively, but the offensive upside is there. And to just have a guy like that for the Brooklyn Nets who don't have a lot of NBA ready talent, I think Jalil Bethea can become something and be a solid off-ball player, but you're just going to have to pair him up with a lot of defensive talent if he is going to be a starter in the future. And you would like to see him become a little bit more on the playmaking side of things instead of just being a shot creating combo guard that can shoot very well and doesn't provide much of anything else. At number 22, I have the Utah Jazz selecting Asa Noel, the 6'10 power forward At number 22, I have the Utah Jazz taking Asa Noel, a 6'10 power forward, and we see a lot of upside for him as a spot-up shooter, a play finisher, a lob catcher, a transition guy. I think there is potential for him to play the 5 if he could just beef up just a little bit and be better on the glass, but the screen and roll ability, the pick and pop ability, the ability to put the ball on the floor in spurts, the ability to block shots, and the potential to guard in space. I know I say that with a lot of these bigs, but I think a lot of these guys do have the potential to guard in space a lot of these bigs, and it intrigues me with him, especially the spot up shooting ability, because we see him do it a little bit more. I would just like it to be a little bit more consistent at the collegiate level, and I think he's going to be a really good prospect who could move up in this draft process. At number 23, I have the Brooklyn Nets taking Donnie Freeman, who's a very physical, high-level defensive upside player who can crash the glass. And I just think this is one of the players that the Brooklyn Nets are going to want to have in their rotation. Just a guy who's going to compete on that defensive end night in and night out. He's going to be a great glass cleaner. And this is somebody you can bring in to guard multiple positions, whether it's the 1 through the 4. He has the quickness. He has the strength. He has the rebounding ability. And I would love to see him in Brooklyn. At number 24, I have the Dallas Mavericks selecting Ian Jackson out of UNC. And this is something that I think the Mavericks are needing as of right now in their backcourt. They don't have much athleticism with Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and Klay Thompson. And Ian Jackson is going to be that guy who can defend on the perimeter, can get downhill, can run in transition. He's going to be a great pairing with guys like Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford defensively. You would like to see a little bit more from him offensively. I don't know what he's necessarily good at. I don't know what he's a positive on as of right now. I just have not seen much of him. But the athleticism and the defense really intrigues me on that end of the floor. So I think he's going to be a good pick for Dallas, and Luka is such a great playmaker that he's going to be able to get these guys in great positions offensively. I don't know how many picks in this draft the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to keep. I think they can maybe keep their pick at number 11 and maybe their pick at number 15. But later in the draft, I think they may trade these picks, but we're not going to do picks. We're not going to do trades right now. So at number 25, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder taking Dalton Swan, who's a very athletic secondary creator for the team that he is on right now. I'm blanking on what team he's on right now, but very athletic, can finish through contact, can defend. And this is somebody that OKC is going to keep in the vault and progress for the time in the future. At number 26, I have the Utah Jazz selecting Carter Bryant, who is a very good defender, very good shooter on and off ball, and has the physicality to finish through contact. And this is a guy that the Jazz are going to maybe want to develop as they're building a amazing wing rotation with guys like Taylor Hendricks, Cody Williams, now Carter Bryant. They brought in Asa Noel, who's going to be a solid big for them, but their potential with their wings coming up, I think, is going to be huge. At 27, the last pick for the Brooklyn Nets in the first round, I have them taking Isaiah Evans out of Duke. This is a guy who's extremely athletic, can get to his spots with ease, a great mid-range shooter, a great finisher around the rim, and he just has that aura. I know, but he just has that confidence when he steps on the court that any shot that he takes, he can make. And he has that athleticism to run in the transition. And I think this is a guy who is going to improve his stock if he stays for a second season, because Duke is absolutely stacked this season. So you never know. I think if he were to stay for a second season, you can see him in the lottery next year. But I think he's going to be a hidden talent around 20 to 30. And if the Brooklyn Nets were able to pick him up and he's able to become something, it's going to be a steal. At number 28, I have the Orlando Magic taking Alex Karaban, the junior or senior coming out of UConn, a guy that is going to be NBA ready the second he steps into the floor, somebody who's going to give you amazing spot up shooting ability at the wing, and is going to have a really decorated college basketball resume, and is going to come in and be used to a winning culture and can affect a real playoff team. At number 29, I have the Los Angeles Clippers selecting Darion Reed, who's a very good defender, very good glass cleaner, and has the potential to be a solid playmaker. You would just love to see his shooting get a lot better, and I think that would be my main issue with him. And at number 30, I have the Boston Celtics taking McKenzie Ibaka, who is a very raw shot creator, athletic, a guy with defensive upside, and Boston's just going to be able to stash him for the next 2 or 3 seasons so he can progress and become something later down the line. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was my first mock draft of the new season. I'm very excited to see what's going to unfold with a lot of these players. And I'm going to try to do this maybe every 2 weeks so I can let the season start, get more of an idea on these players, and we can start making a longer analysis, because I kind of want my mock drafts, especially my full round mock draft, to be upwards of 45 to an hour long, because I want to be able to give a very good description of every single player. We're going to be doing some scouting reports. I'm very excited for those, by the way. And if you guys like this type of content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more draft content this season, so make sure you're on the lookout for that. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe. Let me know about some of the fits that you didn't agree with as much, and let me know about some of the fits that you absolutely love. And I'm out. Peace.